Call to order. Would everyone please rise? We'll have a moment of silence for Officer Crowder. I will do the invocation, and Board Member Casella, would you lead the Pledge of Allegiance? Would everyone please rise? Dear Lord, thank you again for giving us today. I know that we must plan for tomorrow, but today is a gift, and that is why we call it the present. And thank you again for your guidance and support as we lead this community redevelopment agency in making a better Boynton, and allow us to wake us every day to do your will and allow us to accomplish your deeds. And in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I have a roll call, please?
Here.
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 Present.
Here.
All right. Seeing no legal, moving on to the agenda approval. Any additions, deletions, corrections? I'd like to put a new assignment for the CRA Advisory Board, and I'll discuss that later. Yes. Under item 15C.
Where it says none.
Yep.
Okay.
May I have a
Motion
motion?
to approve as amended.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Informational items and disclosures by board members and CRA staff. Board Member Romulus, would you like to begin?
I met with Bonnie Miskell and the group representing Ocean One, and that is all I have for now. I do want to quickly really send out heartfelt condolences to the family and friends of Officer Crowder. I was going through my mail and I got this card from the canines, and it just made my heart sink because I thought of that, and it just happened to fall exactly on the day that I opened this letter. So again, just condolences to the family and to the friends of Officer Crowder, and thank you for his service.
Board Member Costello.
Thank you, Mayor. No disclosures, but I also like to give my thoughts and condolences and prayers to the Crowder family. Officer Crowder was a 14-year veteran of the Boynton Police Department, K-9, and my prayers go out to his two young sons and all his sisters and brothers in blue.
Board Member Katz.
I also met with the Ocean One team and their legal representation with Interim Director Mike Simon the other week. And again, I'll offer my sympathies as well to the family and to the fellow officers of Officer Crowder. I don't, talk about my personal life much, but my father passed away of a heart attack in his 40s when I was a young kid, along with my brothers. So, family and friends are what'll help those kids and help, his family get through this. So,
Vice Chair McCray.
Thank you, sir. I met with Bonnie Miskell and the Ocean One team. It seemed like we're all saying the same thing for Officer Joe Crowder. I'm just saying so. It seemed like with summation that we all send all our condolences out to his family, as well as his friends, also to our family here at the PD department. Thank you, sir.
All right. I'd like to also disclose I attended the tree lighting, the holiday parade, and the boat parade. And then I actually had interaction with Officer Crowder when my backyard patio furniture got stolen. He was the officer there to help me fill out the report, and he explained basically the whole process and was a great officer and just told me exactly what I needed to know. And I really appreciate what he did for me, and he will be missed. Seeing no more informational items, moving on to announcements.
Mr. Mayor, if I just may add a couple of things I forgot to mention. We have some flyers in the back. It's about the farm share free food distribution. It's going to be held January 28th, between 9 and 12. It's going to be held in a lot right next to St. John's Missionary Baptist Church down on Seacrest. Also, there's some business cards up there with the State Attorney Sober Home Task Force number. Some of you may or may not see things in your neighborhood that don't seem copacetic. If you might think it's a sober home, give this number a call. They'll research it for you and maybe turn into something, maybe it won't. But this number is free toll number. So please, if you see anything, give us a call.
All right. And I also have some flyers back there for Tiger Beat. They are playing at the Miami halftime when they're playing Golden State. So it will be a great game, and I will be going. So I look forward to seeing everyone else from the city there. Moving on to announcements and awards.
Good evening, Mercedes Coppin, Marketing, Events, and Economic Development Assistant. The 46th Annual Holiday Tree Lighting and Concert was held on Friday, December 2nd on Ocean Avenue. We estimate that approximately 800 to 1,000 people attended the event. It was a very family-friendly crowd, and we received a lot of positive feedback about the free children's activities and also the photo opportunity that was available with Santa Claus. We had several local vendors on site, including Troy's Barbecue, Boardwalk Italian Ice and Boardwalk Italian Ice and Creamery, Inspire Chiropractic, Mike's Carvings, and Ocean Breeze Skincare. Overall, the feedback that we received about this event was very positive, and the tree will remain lit until December 30th in front of the Schoolhouse Children's Museum.
I have a comment in regards to the tree lighting. I'm just saying, I was at an event last night at the Schoolhouse Children's Museum, and that light is halfway lit, halfway out. I'm just saying, who's responsible for making sure that it's lit?
The company that we have is Christmas Designers, CDI. I have been in direct communication with them regarding that, and it is completely lit right now. I contacted them today, yes. Okay, the 45th Annual Holiday Boat Parade was held last Friday, December 9th, along the intercoastal waterways between Lantana and the C-15 Canal, which is just south of Linton Boulevard. Although the weather wasn't working in our favor, that likely affected the visitor turnout as well as the captains who participated in the event. We still overall received very positive feedback about the event. We originally had 30 boats confirmed to participate, but we ended up with 22 numbered boats that were actually in the parade on Friday. We estimate that approximately 200 people came to the Boynton Harbor Marina to view the parade, and we are sure that also additional people view the parade from parks and other viewing areas along the intercoastal waterways. Both Banana Boat and Two Georges were jam-packed with guests, and Two Georges has confirmed that their sales increased 35% from the previous Friday due to that event. And also, we recently, just today, calculated all of the winners, and we'll be arranging an awards dinner for that in the coming weeks. And finally on that, our partnership with the Marine Industries and Toys for Tots was very successful, and the Marines did want to express their appreciation for everyone who donated a toy. Moving on to Music on the Rocks, our next concert will be this Friday, December 16th at the Ocean Avenue Amphitheater. The band will be Red Eye, which is a classic rock band. They will also include some tunes, some holiday tunes to go in line with the season. The music starts at 7 p.m. with Food Truck Invasion arriving on site at 6 p.m. This week's food truck lineup is going to include Veggie Love, Tipperoo, Taco Fresh, Cold Stone Creamery, and the Hurricane Alley Crowder Truck. Beverage service will also be provided by PCI. And finally, Movies in the Park. On January 6th, we will resume our Movies in the Park season with the film The Secret Life of Bees. We selected this film to go in line with our month-long celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The film is rated PG-13 and overall is a very inspirational movie, but since it does address some very serious issues like racism, domestic violence, and suicide, viewer discretion is advised. For that event, we will also have the Hurricane Alley Crowder Truck on site, and we will also have a concession vendor who will be selling candy, popcorn, and other snacks. Prior to that film, which is going to start at 7 p.m., we will show a preview with advertisements of local CRA businesses, including Freedom Boat Club, Jamaican Cuisine, Sunflower Garden Spa, Boynton Beach Boat and Jet Ski Rental. At the conclusion of the film, visitors will be entered into a drawing to win gift certificates for the advertised businesses. That's it. Thank you.
Mercedes, I'd just like to say on that boat parade, yourself and Teresa and the rest of the CRA staff, along with city staff, Eleanor Caruso, you guys did an outstanding job. You know, I think we've come to take it for granted, but to see how much work it's involved to have that, you know, be successful, you should be congratulated. So I thank you personally.
Thank you very much.
Be seated. The movies in the park. Say it slow. What is the name of the film again?
The Secret Life of Bees.
Of Bees. B-A-S-T.
B-E-E-S.
Animal.
Bumblebees.
Oh, okay.
Honeybees.
Thank you. I like
Mercedes,
Bumble
I do want to add to what Commissioner Costello said, simply regarding a lot of the work that you've been doing in the CRA. I know you've only been on board for about 4 months, and you've tackled things like a pro. I know you've been working and you helped with our Pirates Fest, and then you helped with the holiday parade, and now the boat parade, and you've been doing fantastic. So great job, and kudos to you, and kudos also to the rest of the staff who's been holding up their end and making sure things happen, and excellent, excellent job to everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any consent agenda to be pulled, item to be pulled? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any discussion on information items? Seeing none, moving on to public comments. Yep.
Good evening. Lisa Brown-Bannock. I live at 720 East Ocean Avenue, down the street, Boynton Beach. What's my zip? 33435, sorry. I just wanted to come to the podium and say thank you very much for the opportunity as your newest advisory board member for the Rec and Park Department. And I look forward to helping out in any way I can, not only with the veterans events that I've been helping with and some of the marketing efforts like the parade, but with other activities that the Rec and Parks Department will be doing for the next year and coming up with ideas to involve the community in other areas as well. Thank you very much.
Volunteer.
Thank you.
Splashdown divers,
There you go.
better?
Yes.
Lynn Simmons, Splashdown Divers, slip number 13 at the Boynton Harbor Marina. Here to report, as directed, progress on the green space renovation construction. Looks like about 2 steps forward, 1 step back. I'd like to be able to thank you all so much for the beautiful signs that were promised, telling everybody that the businesses are open. Either it didn't work or they're not there. And since I can't find them, I guess it's because they're not there. Anyway, things are not happy for Splashdown. If you all could somehow find a way to possibly give me some financial assistance, now's the time that I have to ask. We had to sign our lease agreement, and unbeknownst to myself, now they want a security deposit. I've been there for 35 years. Seems to me that I've proven that I'm not going anywhere, and I pay my rent religiously every single month. If you could see your way clear to grandfather me in and not require that additional 800 and plus payment that's required for me to get a lease, I'd appreciate it.
And we can do something like in motion, or is that up to staff?
I would need to review those documents before I could tell you whether or not you have the authority to waive the security deposit, but I'd be happy to take a look and bring something back to you on that regard.
Can we,
Let's just do a motion to approve it. So if it's being waived and it's already in the process, it will have to come back before us. $800.
and so what I was going to state is that it won't be required until after you come back with a finding to the board.
I think that's something that is reasonable.
Okay, so motion to postpone the security deposit after legal reviews.
Second.
You want to do the motion?
Yeah, I want to offer a motion that we go ahead and suspend the $800 until we get a final approval from council.
All right.
Thank you very much.
But before you go, I need to also ask staff, in regards to the signs that said that businesses are open, what happened? I'm just saying, did we drop the ball or it failed or what?
Well, the discussion was recognizing access to their customers, to the tenants' customers, where the boats were and that they were open. So we put 2 signs that provide arrows to access the 2 Georges and the marina slips.
Did anyone say open during construction?
No, because it seems obvious that it is open.
It is
during
not
construction.
obvious.
Okay.
So could we please get a sign for open for construction? Up during construction.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Are those signs?
They're on the post as you drive into the marina on 6th. There's a sign in yellow with blue letters that say slip access and 2 Georges access this way. And then at the stop sign, as you head toward 2 Georges on Casa Loma Boulevard, there's another sign in yellow with blue lettering with an arrow that says slip access and 2 Georges.
Okay.
So there's no barricades or anything preventing the access, and these are trying to guide the customers to the vessels, but I certainly can add businesses open underneath. That's no problem.
I do understand. The reason I brought it up to you was the loss of advertising value of having the boat there because we no longer have pedestrian traffic on the dock. And I understand eventually it's going to get there. Hopefully I'm still there for it to help. Thank you.
Mike, if you could give us an update, because I remember speaking to you, you said that the construction would be done relatively soon. Can you give us an update on the time frame of that, please?
Contractors' estimated schedule is January 20th for total completion. The lost time, as I discussed at the last meeting, has picked up because the helical piles were able to be completed quicker than they thought, although they're not precisely where the drawings show, so there's still some engineering revisions that have to be made for the span of the boardwalk, that's the new boardwalk. But as you may have noticed, it was probably dark by the time the event started at the boat parade, but all of the form work and the steel work for the seat wall is in place, and until they're going to be meeting with the engineer, the geotechnical engineer, the contractor to establish these last 2 piles, which are load-bearing and kind of critical to the next phase, which is to start building the deck, like a wood deck with your sub-wood
So
deck.
January 20th, that's a firm date.
That's a firm date unless there's another title issue or some other, but I think we're through all of that, and so that's the date that he's working on now.
Thank you.
And,
Michael, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, is it currently on budget?
Yes.
Okay, that was
my question.
Yes.
All right.
We might even say
I don't want to say
$800.
slightly under yet, but it could end up being there, so
Yeah.
don't want to jinx myself.
All right.
Wait and see.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Any additional comments from the public? Seeing none. Public hearing is now closed. Moving on to old business. Status of the Ocean Breeze East project.
Yes, Board, the item before you is a status update. You can see as your backup under Attachment 1, the letter that was presented to us by New Rock Development and Robbie Block, who's their project manager and acquisition manager. The application was turned in on time with a full packet and complete, but there were 43 other applications. This was done in October, And as of November 30th, all of the projects were ranked, and of the 43 applications, our project was not in the top tier of selected projects. So the program and through the Florida Housing Finance Corporation provide a challenge window for the developers and the applicants that were not selected. It's their typical way of doing business, so that the selected application sits while others challenge on particular items that they feel were perhaps overlooked or incorrectly scored, and have a 72-hour window to try to get that together to present. There are challenges that are won. I don't know how many other applicants are or falling into this challenge category and taking on the rankings for their projects. But New Rock is going to go through that process. They're going to challenge the findings in the ranking, and hopefully, if not selected based on the challenge, then they're going to continue to find ways through that maze and try to seek funding. Their contract is still in place. That would be something that we bring back at the next meeting or even in February to decide whether we want to terminate at that point, or if they've found funding, allow them to keep going toward finishing the project, getting into a place where we can close.
Michael, what is the success rate of these challenges?
Well, that's a good question. I can find out the statistics from Robbie. He's very experienced at it. He didn't mention it, but my hunch is with 53 rather than, let's say, 13 or 10 applicants or applications, it probably goes down statistically with that many.
This is the second, third, maybe the fourth time we've had this piece of property out on this tax credit proposal. We've failed every single time. I think that we're going to have to revalue this if this challenge comes back in the negative, and revalue where, plan B, if you will. It's been sitting there way too long, and obviously this tax credit program is not working for this parcel.
In regards to what Board Member Casello just said, we did not fail. I'm just saying the applicant themselves failed. I'm just saying, we gave it to them in due diligence and they were just not able to produce. I'm just saying we gave it to them in good faith, and I'm like you. I'm kind of tired of seeing the same thing keep happening over and over and over again.
I will point out that we haven't gotten to discussing it or seeing the proposals yet, but the Town Square RFP came back in with a number of proposals, and we'd always talked about potential sites for the potential police or fire station. Now that this has fallen through, I remember during our initial discussion when I voted in favor of this particular developer seeking this tax credit, that I said if it fell through, I would really want to seek holding this plot available potentially as part of the Town Square, either a land swap or something to that effect. So I'm just throwing that back out there.
Okay.
Let me ask a question for staff. Since we are under the RFP, I'm just saying, are we still under the code of silence, but Town Square, should we even be bringing that up? Thank you.
And then again, Michael, you said we're under contract with them until February?
There are certain conditions that they can still attempt under the contract.
Okay.
But it really, even if they had received the funding, the contract and the closing continue through the summer. So I don't think that it's in our best interest at this moment while they're challenging. So I want to...
No. My question was, I thought you mentioned that...
In February. I'll bring it back to you in February with another status update.
Okay.
At that point, you can determine whether it is best interest for you to just go ahead and cancel the contract so we don't have any lingering issues with them.
Okay.
Or they can provide another vehicle for financing that you might be interested in allowing. But obviously, a key component is getting funding from this program, and if that appears to not have happened,
all right,
that's a huge condition of their contract that would...
Well, I would like it if you could speak with them and get an update for January.
Michael, this is at 4% tax credits. That's correct?
No, it was not. It was a sale loan.
That's the 4%.
That was the 4%.
It's
okay.
Another way of...
Okay. And they led us to believe that the success rate is greater at 4% than the 9%.
Yes, they did.
So
yes.
I have some real concerns.
Well, I'm sure that they'll defend the number of applications this year over previous years, but I understand where you're coming from completely.
Yes, public
Thank you.
comments. Would you please limit it to 3 minutes?
going to do my best.
Okay, thank
We're
you.
way ahead of schedule tonight, though. David Katz, 67 Midwood Lane. I think New Rock is asking what I might say as analogies or recount. We know how those are going right now. There were 43 applicants, and in the letter, he didn't state what his rank was.
No.
I mean, is he 43rd looking to unseat number 6? I don't think that's going to happen. I'm not a legal, but I think it would be incumbent upon this body to ask New Rock to submit what's called a notice to perform within 30 days, showing a contract with whoever this alleged legal counsel is, because in that contract it would show what the legal counsel is tasked to do, and that might help you out to find out what they're looking to do. Also, in looking at the backup in the letter, I didn't see where there, in my opinion, where there's any valid or verifiable data given by New Rock. And usually once funds are given to an entity, one of those in competition, they're given, they're awarded. And I would say it's probably beyond rare that funds are withdrawn from another applicant, maybe extremely rare. Sale funds, going to that, I think with Mr. Carson, Dr. Carson becoming head of that federal department, it's my humble opinion, I can't see around corners, but I think that those funds are going to go away if he has his way. So it looks like they will have their way. I'm curious why New Rock isn't even here, why they just supplied a letter. If it's that important to them, they should have been here to talk to you guys, and they're not here, and that's not good either. An aside, though, it doesn't really mean much. The grammar and the spelling in his letter wasn't very good either. This is not what the heart of Boynton and District 2 wants or needs. It's my opinion. And there should have been more definitive recommendation by staff rather than the very little that you got as far as the backup. And again, I think you should ask them for that notice to perform, because there's an old saying that, and I'm going to paraphrase it, that this board shouldn't cling to a mistake just because it spent a lot of time making it. And I'm not saying it's your mistake, but obviously this developer's a mistake. Thank you.
All right, I guess I'd ask legal to explain a little bit more about the notice to perform. Into the mic.
Sorry about that. So I'm not all that familiar with the concept of a notice to perform in the context of something like this. It sounds like the speaker was suggesting that there is some sort of anticipatory breach that you would want to raise with the applicant and to see if they're going to be able to perform. I mean, I've certainly heard of notice of commencement in projects, but a notice to perform I'm not familiar with as a legal instrument. It sounds to me like what you need is an update from the applicant to tell you whether they think they're going to be able to perform and under what conditions, so that you can determine whether your agreements with them are still in compliance.
So can we, I guess, get an update on that included, and whatever legal issues that we can do?
Absolutely.
For anticipatory or notice of commencement?
Sure.
I'm going to go ahead and offer a motion, since I represent District 2, that we give legal a stance, to move in that direction, to bring back a report to this board, letting us know what New Rock's intentions are. I'm just saying, it's like almost egg on my face every time I go back there. I have to keep dealing with the same project. So I'm going to offer a motion that you all get with their group and find out what their intentions are for the project over there, Ocean Breeze East.
Can I add on to that motion?
Yes.
Could we have a representative of New Rock come here and tell us in person?
Well, I mean, we can't make people to come here.
Well,
but,
we can't make them, but can we ask them?
We can ask them, absolutely.
I just want to make sure that the board knows that there were numerous emails to New Rock on my behalf trying to get them to attend. So they knew that we requested for an update and to attend, that they needed to be here.
So if we can ask again and have legal prepare any documents that can help us, move the project forward, if not with New Rock.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moving over, does anyone want to remove item B from the table? All right. Moving on to item C. the status of the 2.97 acre project site known as MLK Junior South.
Yes, the item before you is as you described, Board Chair, and the application deadline for that project was a December 8th date. That was the Florida Housing Finance Corporation's deadline. That was now extended to the 30th of December, during which Mr. Block describes challenges being made by potential applicants to remove the benefits of a local government support agreement, or the amount of funding and support from the community would score higher for those that have an abundance of, which you do. If the challenges or the folks that are trying to present their case to eliminate that or to lower its importance in the application isn't decided or changed before the 30th, then the applications will be due, and ideally that will be left into it.
I have a question. The challenges that will be challenged, are they in his favor or just the group itself? I'm just saying, did he elaborate?
Well, I guess the lobbying, if you will, of the rules within the application was initiated by those applicants that do not have a significant amount of assistance or contribution from their local government and local community. They feel it's probably unjust or unfair to rank based on that, to give a higher ranking to a community that's more in support than another community might be. I certainly think that's a very important intent of the program, to have that type of support from your local community for projects like this, for the low-income housing tax credit program, and to eliminate that essentially is kind of overlooking the amount of support a project has within its community. So I hope that those that are in charge of making the decisions with regard to the application and what the criteria of the application is and the scoring and the ranking of them would recognize that and not change, and keep the priority ranking for those that have a local government match or contribution. And again, we're providing $1 million match as a contribution, also the land. So that's a very, I don't know what the other applicants are going to submit, because the application deadline hasn't passed, but that's a substantial financial commitment from a community like ours.
I thought that was, I'm sorry.
Right, so the update, I'm just saying, will not be finalized until December the 30th, so it's really like redundant for us even like to try to do anything except just listen.
Yes, sir. Yep, the applications haven't even been submitted.
Okay.
That deadline was pushed out. So the whole process that he described and the timing of their application process just got pushed out 30 days.
Michael, it was brought up to this board that our commitment through land and monies would help the application with a higher ranking. So now you're saying now some of the applicants are saying that that's not fair? Is that basically what you're saying?
Essentially, yes, to simplify it. So we don't want that criteria removed from the application. We don't want that to be eliminated from the scoring of priority. Obviously, everybody standing in line to submit, those that have contribution are fighting to those that they can to have them keep it in, and they're trying to make their case to those that make that decision. And those that don't have it are lobbying the other way to remove it. But this is a new experience for New Rock, at least according to Mr. Block. But it is happening as far as we are being told by him. So we can do some investigation while we're waiting, but we will expect him to tell us before January, or at January, when and if that priority was taken out, or as soon as he knows it's left in, then I can report back to you.
Is that something he could tell us when we ask him to attend the next meeting?
Definitely, but the applications we do the 30th, and our meeting is in January, so I would like to have that answer on the 30th, as he's going in, so we can at least get that to you before his presentation. But I agree that I had really wanted him to be here. I think it was important to you as a board to have that attendance from the applicant.
All right. And so my question is that when will we get an answer regarding the new extended deadline? Is it going to be after our January meeting?
I'll present it to you as a board individually once we get that.
All right. Thank you. All right. Moving on to presentation and consideration of search firms for hiring a CRA executive director. Or, I'm sorry, does anybody want to remove the item D from the table?
I don't.
Seeing none, moving on to the presentation and consideration of search firms for hiring a CRA executive director.
Mayor, if I can make a statement at this time. A lot has happened since we had our new interim director, Mike Simon, take over. It's going to be, my personal feeling is that I'm going to suggest to the board after we hear the presentations that we keep Michael Simon on as interim director for 6 months. And at that time, we can make an evaluation of his. I tell you personally, I think that the atmosphere down at the CRA is 180 degrees positive in the opposite direction. And I am quite satisfied and happy with the information I've been getting and the dialogue I've been having with the interim director. I'd also, at the proper time, would suggest that we allow him to hire an interim assistant director to help him out on what he's doing. These are some of the things that we can discuss after the search teams.
Would anyone else like to have a comment before we hear it?
Right. I would not like to comment on that now, but I will comment on that. But I do need to hear from the firms, and after that, they could probably be dismissed, and then we could dialogue. I'm just saying it's more fair to them.
I appreciate that. All right. Michael?
I guess we can call them up in the order that they're in the backup, which would be, the three firms are Colin Banninger and Associates, Slavin and Associates, and W.D. Hickenbotham. The first one in your backup is Banninger and Associates.
Banninger here.
I'll confirm their attendance. Is Mr. Banninger here? Is Colin here?
Yes. Okay, we're calling you up.
Okay. Apologize, I just stepped up.
Well, glad you made it.
You start by my name is Colin Banninger and Associates, and I'm excited to be here tonight, quite frankly. I've never worked for Boynton Beach. I've worked for a lot of the other cities in South Florida, but never Boynton Beach, so it's an opportunity for me. What I'd like to do is start, there's a gray piece of paper in the back of the handout or the booklet I gave you. It's a resolution that was passed by St. Johns County several years ago. And this is what your recruiting firm should do for you. The second paragraph, whereas CB&A's staff worked diligently to find and produce excellent candidates and then provided the County Commission with comprehensive materials concerning the candidate's aptitude, experience, background, complete and thorough interviews, references, extensive checks of criminal, civil, and financial history, verification of employment and education, exhaustive reviews of internet and newspaper archives of these candidates, whereas the process was completely open, fair, and unbiased, and extremely well received by the County Commission, county staff, the press, and the public. And then they'd like to express their thanks to us. I don't know how often Boynton Beach has passed a resolution thanking a consultant for its work, but I suspect it's fairly rare.
Can you give me a little geography lesson? St. John's, where is that located?
It's basically St. Augustine.
St. Augustine,
Yeah.
Thank you.
So it's northeast Florida. I got into this business about 18 years ago, and at the time I'd been a candidate in several searches, and I felt like, I'd always been very good at picking people for positions, whether it was my public works director or the second baseman on my softball team. And I thought, there's an opportunity here. There was nobody else who had an office in Florida at the time, none of the municipal recruiters. And I felt if I provided my service at a reasonable price, was very customer service oriented, and delivered, that I'd be successful. I'd seen some other firms, and I thought, there's some things I can do better. My goal at the time was to dominate the state of Florida, and then I took off, and it really kind of was slow, probably until about 2005. And at that point, business picked up. So about 18 years after I started my business from scratch, nobody would hire an executive recruiter that hadn't actually been paid as an executive recruiter. We've now worked in 31 states, and we do about 70% of the city and county manager searches in the state of Florida where a recruiter's hired. That's more than twice as many as everybody else combined. And it's because of the results we produce and the quality of our work. All of our people are experienced city managers. Some of us have a little elected official experience as well. We're successful in virtually every search we've done. We have the expertise, but also the intuition. I think being able to select people is as much a gift as it is a skill that you develop over time. You can certainly hone your intuition, but it's not something that, it's kind of something I think you're really born with. And we haven't. I haven't. We're flexible. We'll do whatever incorporate whatever you'd like into your search. Sometimes we have public participation. Sometimes we do a survey, citizen survey. We're reliable. We say what we'll do, and we do what we say we will do. We're thorough. There's another piece of paper in the back of the thing that talks about some comments from Dale Martin, who's a city manager in Fernandina Beach. And it's from the Fernandina Observer. And one of the things he says in there is he's been a candidate in a number of searches, and we're the only firm that's ever checked his references. Now, I'm not suggesting that the people I'm competing against tonight would fall into that category, but it's something that we do extremely well. Our fee's all inclusive. That's what you'll pay us. There's no extra charges anywhere. We feel that as the expert, we should be able to foresee all the unforeseen circumstances. We don't believe in unforeseen circumstances. We're the expert. You're paying us to do the job right and to know how to do it. So our fee is our fee. The only time it's going to be any different from what's quoted is if for some reason the search ends more quickly, maybe you hire an internal candidate or something, and then we'll reduce our fee for the work we haven't done. We're on schedule. We've never missed a project deadline. Results guaranteed. And we're customer service oriented. You've got my business card there. It's got my cell phone number on it. I'm available 24/7, 365. Actually, I like to say 313 because I like to take Sundays off, but if you need me, I'll be there. Our process is time tested. It's problem free. There's a flow chart on page 3 that outlines the basic process. We're going to start by talking to you as the board to find out what you're looking for in the CRA director, what kind of person will fit in this job. Talk to you about your community. We'll talk to you about the challenges the individual is going to face. When we're done, we'll talk about how much you want to pay Superman or Superwoman. When we're done, we'll put together a brochure. And I have some samples here that I'll also pass along. Our goal when we do a brochure is to be complete and to be accurate. If there's negatives, and I don't really like to use the term negatives, but if people want to be in New York City, obviously Boynton Beach isn't the place to be. But if you like a lovely, Southeast Florida coastal community, it's a great opportunity. So we'll talk to you. We'll develop that brochure, and then we'll put it out in the marketplace. We use a number of means of soliciting candidates. One is we will actually do candidate outreach. We'll call them on the phone. We'll talk to them. We'll talk to professional organizations to find out who the best candidates are, and we'll approach them. We'll use advertising. Some of our better candidates see an ad sometimes, somebody we haven't reached out to. We also have an email database of about 13,200 professionals in local government. We love email because, you know, maybe I can reach 75, maybe I can reach 100, 150 people by phone. I can reach 13,200 with my email database. And if they are not interested themselves, they may know somebody who is, and it's very easy to forward an email. Our goal is to create a buzz in the industry, to get people talking about this job, and you do it through, you know, consulting our database, doing the networking, doing the advertising, and sending out the email. When that's all done, usually it's about 3 weeks after we start. We need a little time for that to bubble up in the industry. We will collect all the resumes and they come to my desk. I'm your project manager. I'm the person you'll be dealing with face to face. And so I'll be the one who's there, and I'll be the one who's reading the resumes. I will apply my experience reading between the lines. You know, the real trick with a resume is that people who are on the market regularly generally have very good resumes. They're practiced. The people you're looking for are the people that have held a job for a while and are a little rusty. And so reading between the lines is an important characteristic of your search consultant. I'll pick out 6, 8, 10 people, maybe 15, depending on the candidate pool, and I'll call each of them. Paper's paper. It doesn't really tell you an awful lot. People can have a professional resume done and it can look very good. Maybe that's not who they really are. So I'll talk to them. I'll apply what I call a Collin test, which is basically a series of 10 questions, roughly 10. And then there's others that kind of branch off from that, but there's 10 basic questions. And based on what they say, I'll make a determination of whether or not I think they know what they're doing and if they're a good fit for your community and for the job. Assuming they are, then I'll turn them over to my staff. The staff will do the background checks that we frankly feel differentiate us from just about anybody else. We're going to ask them for probably about 20 references. We're going to approach 20 of them. Now we know we're not going to talk to 20. People are out of town, whatever. People won't call us back. But we have a rule of thumb that if we can talk to 8 people, we generally will have a pretty good idea of who that candidate is, what makes them tick, and if there's anything out there that we need to know about. We'll write up each of those references. So you get about a page each, and you'll get to see what they actually said. Phone number is going to be on there. You can call them if you like, and follow up. We're going to run background checks. We're going to do criminal at the county, state, and federal level. We're going to do civil records checks at the county and federal level. We'll do credit and bankruptcy, and we'll do DMV. The reason we do the criminal checks at 3 levels is that sometimes things that are reported at the county level don't make it to the state level and then don't make it to the federal level. And we had a candidate once who had been arrested on a drug charge at the airport bringing some marijuana into the country. It wasn't like it was a huge offense, but it didn't show up at the state or federal level, but it did show up at the county level. So we're thorough in that regard. We check the internet and we'll Google them, but we'll also look for the local newspaper that covers the community that they're in, the agency they're working for, because that's where you normally find more information. You know, the Palm Beach Post, the Sun Sentinel, they have a lot of other communities to cover. The local paper covers just you. We'll pull the articles out of that. We'll also verify education and experience for the last 10 years. When they're done, all that material comes together on my desk. I'll have the candidate's resume. We ask them to write a brief introduction about 5 pages that answers some questions that to give you an idea who they are. We have the background checks, the criminal, civil, and all of that. We have the references, and we have the internet. Comes together as a package. I'll go through the package, and I'll determine who I think should go forward in the search. Once I've decided that they're a go, that material will be forwarded to you electronically. The package is typically somewhere between, probably for a CRA director, probably between 50 and 75 pages of materials. A lot of that's the internet material, and of course you don't have to read that in detail, but the other material is important. We'll give you about a week. I'll come and talk to you all, talk to you about the candidates, one-on-one, by phone, in person, and then we'll meet as a group and have you select the candidates that you want to interview. About 10 days later, we'll bring those candidates in for an interview. We like you to see candidates in a reception with the public. Your CRA director is going to represent the CRA. They're going to be interacting with people. It's important that they have good social skills, and reception is one way you can judge that. We like to have them in a board meeting type setting where they answer questions from all of you. That's part of their job. And the other part is the one-on-one. A good CRA director is going to have good chemistry with you, and they'll have good chemistry with the people that follow you. The best just have that knack of developing the chemistry. So when you're done, you'll see them as in a social setting, in a board meeting setting, and on a one-on-one setting. Usually we like to wait a couple of days, let you sleep on it, maybe get some input from some people that were at the reception, and then we'll get together and select your next CRA director. That's kind of the program in a nutshell. Price is $24,500. The guarantee is in the back of the presentation. And I guess if there's any questions, I'm ready.
I have some.
Thank you.
First of all, you tooted your horn about St. Augustine. What is the population for St. Augustine, Florida?
I haven't actually worked for St. Augustine. It was for St. Johns County. And at the time, it was around 100.
Johns County, sir.
It's around 170,000, I believe, at the time.
Okay, let me ask you another question because I'm getting red flags just talking to you. Okay, you came to us and you said, have you ever hired a CRA director? From what I'm seeing, the answer is probably going to be no.
No, we've worked on economic development
All right,
directors.
thank you. That stopped right there. The next question I have for you, sir, is that you said that you want to come to us and we have to tell you what type of person that we want. I'm just saying if I hire a firm, they should be coming to us, viewing the city of Boynton and telling us what type of person we need. I'm just saying I have red flags. I'm sorry. Thank you.
In a paragraph, tell me how you would sell Boynton Beach to potential candidates. What would you say? You got a nice little thing, welcome. I'm from the Northeast, so I know Concord quite well. Mm-hmm. So what would you say about our city? How would you put it out there?
Boynton Beach is a wonderful city. It's on the southeast coast of Florida. You can get a good education here if you have kids. It's got some challenges. The downtown area is not really as developed, say, as Delray Beach or some of the other communities. So there's a challenge there, but you've got strong elected body. You've got people that are willing to go forward, that want to go forward. You've got some wonderful resources in your kind of your harbor. It's not a harbor, but your boat area. The marina, yes, thank you. I appreciate that. And it just needs to be capitalized on, and it just hasn't been to date.
Let me ask you, give me one of your basic, you say you asked 10 basic questions. Give me one of your basic questions you would ask a potential candidate.
Well, there's several. The first one's typically, why are you interested? I want to know why they're interested. I want to know what their management style is. I want to know what their greatest success is, what their greatest failure is.
You ask them why they'd want to come to Boynton Beach?
I'm sorry, that was actually the first question. I thought I guess I didn't express it very well, but that's the first question. Why do you want this job? Why do you want to be in Boynton Beach?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Colin.
Thank you.
Michael, who do we have next?
Mr. Slavin in the audience?
I think I saw him go.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know if the microphone. Thank you.
I think so.
Okay.
Somebody went outside.
Okay.
Thirsty, looking for.
Okay. That's good.
You ready for me?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm Bob Slavin. I have a company by the name of Slavin Management Consultants. It was formed in 1991. It's in essence a local government recruitment firm. Our practice is national. We've worked in 47 of the 50 states. Prior to 1991, I worked in this business first for a large international search firm, and then for a smaller company. And in '91, we started Slavin Management Consultants. I know you have my proposal, so I don't want to take a lot of your time telling you what you already know. So if I start to do that, let me know that. Company, as I mentioned a moment ago, has worked in most of the states. We have, in the course of the time that I've been in this business, have placed about 32, 33 folks in the planning, community development, oftentimes redevelopment arena. A lot of that work here in Florida, some of it for large jurisdictions. The one that comes to mind, the largest, is a community redevelopment agency for the city of Los Angeles, where we placed 3 senior managers, and that organization the city is divided, I think, into 7 regions, and we placed 3 of the executives that headed 3 of those separate regions, and they function basically as CRA directors for those regions. A lot of the planning work we've done, a lot of the people that we placed in planning positions also are responsible for CRAs, as is the case with a lot of the work that we've done in placing city managers. They are, I know your board and is the same, is comprised of the same people that are on the city council, but as you well know, some city managers also serve as CRA executive directors. So it's a field that we know. And we know it not just from work we've done in Florida, but from work we've done around the United States. The work we do is targeted, it's strategic, and it's focused on outcome. And the outcome is what you tell us it's going to be. We spend a lot of time at the beginning of our work, invest a lot of the resource that you pay us for at the beginning of the project, finding out what you're looking for and what's unique about the Boynton Beach CRA that might be different from others and different from what we might think it would be. We come here with no assumptions. We come here with no packaged components to our work, but we come here wanting to learn, and we spend several days here talking with each of you and anybody else you want us to talk with concerning this work. And we leave here with a pretty clear idea of what the ideal in your minds next executive director for this organization might be. And then we go out and find them. And we do that through a process that has several facets to it. Probably the most important and productive facet is networking. We advertise, and we advertise in the journals and professional association websites, and that you probably are aware of. The ones that we would focus on, those that particularly expected that we could find memberships in organizations that would have the criteria, meet the criteria that you're looking for, and have the experience that might suggest that they would be productive here. But we also do a lot of networking. We know a lot of people, but we know don't pretend to know people who you might want to have be finalist candidates here, but we know how to find them. And the network we've established over the years, that is a national network, is a very important part of what we do and of our portfolio. We use that network to find people we don't know who meet your criteria, and that is most of the effort that we spend in recruiting is spent doing that. We contact people who we know, who once we know what you're looking for, who might have similar organizations to yours, or have accomplished things that you have on your strategic plan to accomplish here, are financed in ways similar to yours, and are governed by laws similar to yours, and we find and have succeeded, and we identify them, and then we go after them. What I didn't say earlier is that the work we initially do results in a comprehensive profile that describes this CRA, and you've done a lot of very good work doing that yourselves. I've spent a lot of time reading about that. In publications that you folks have made available. But we will produce what we call a recruitment profile and we will distribute that to people we identify as being qualified and of interest to us and attracting to your job. And then once we identify them, we contact them, we send them that information, and we try to provide them a safe place to talk about this job that is different, that would at least to some measure protects them from early or premature publicity about their interests. So once they apply, then their application is public. This is Florida. But until they do, then we can maintain conversation with them, dialogue with them, and really try to ensure that by the time they apply, that there's some mutual interest and that they are qualified. Once we identify a group of folks, usually about 10 or 12, that we think you folks ought to be interested in, we'll want to come back here and talk to you about those people. We'll know a little bit more than what we find, what they provide to us in cover letters and resumes. We'll have spent some time on the phone with them. We'll have them complete a document that is again tailored to your criteria, not to our nothing that we take off a shelf. And it really asks them to spend some time with this document, in writing, providing information that that's pertinent to what you are looking for, and we provide that to you as part of what we will ask you to look at when we provide you with 10 or 12 what we call semifinalists. So you'll have the benefit of that. We will also have Googled them, and we won't have done the full background checks yet, because we will only do that on those that you're most interested in, but we will have Googled them, and we will have asked them questions about their work history, whether or not they've ever left a job involuntarily, whether they've ever sued or been sued by an employer. We'll ask them what we're going to find when we do the electronic search, both Googling and social media searches. We might, depending on whether we can do it without having them be putting their present job in jeopardy, we might and often do call folks who we know that we suspect know them, because they may work in a neighboring community or something, and that we can be pretty confident will not cause them to put their job in jeopardy, and ask them about them. So by the time we present the group of 10 or 12 to you, we know more about them, and we're reasonably sure that those of that group, when you select the ones that you're most interested in, they will pass scrutiny. Then once you tell us who you're interested in, that's when we do the due diligence. And that work for us includes site visits. And those site visits, we spend time in their work locations. And we ask them, and we talk to people. First of all, by this time, their resume is public. It's Florida. And we ask them to alert the folks in their communities, and we want to talk to if it's a CRA board, we want to talk to their board members, we want to talk to employees, we want to talk to community leaders, private and public, and so we have a pretty good handle on who they are by the time you see them. And then, of course, we do criminal, driving, credit, civil records, education checks, and if they've got any credentials like EICP or the Economic Development IEDC credentials or anything like that, we check that and verify that. So. And then we'll work with you to set up interviews, and we'll do we'll talk to you about how you want that handled, when you want it handled, what components you would like to see involved in that process. If you want community involvement, that's great. If you we'll help arrange for that. If you want different types of interviews, it's not unlikely, not common that you folks will interview, and you may want some staff involvement and some maybe city involvement. So whatever your comfort level is there, we'll help you with. So, and then we'll help you. We'll be with you as advisors during the interview process, and we'll help you make a decision, and we'll also help arrange for negotiate an employment agreement, and then we still stay involved. We want to make sure that the placement is successful. We'll check with you a couple of times during the first year, and to make sure it is, we'll help you set performance goals, not CRA goals, but performance goals for the individual. You have a pretty good evaluation system that I read before I came. However, and it does have goals in it. But we'll help you establish those goals for the next person you hire. And then if for any reason that person isn't here within the first 2 years of employment, we'll redo the work we did. We'll charge you expenses, but we won't charge you additional fees. So in a nutshell, that's the service we provide. We're very, have been very fortunate. We've had the 2-year guarantee. We've honored it twice in more than 30 years, which I think is pretty good. One time both times a person quit. At no point were they fired. I caught myself there. That's not quite true. One time the person died, and the next time they quit. The other time they quit. So, but they weren't fired. So, and then we do. There's another. It's 3 now. Mount Dora city manager left after a few months on the job. He quit, and we redid that one. So, any questions you've got of me, or anything that I can add that I haven't already talked to you about, or?
I guess a couple. You said in Los Angeles you found 3 directors for community redevelopment.
Yes.
Is that what it was? Have you done anything closer in Florida, or anything in Florida?
Well, yes, we did. Off the top of my head, we placed planning directors in Florida and different parts of the state. Lee County, and that had some CRA over. There was some community development block grant money involved in that. I don't know whether it was whether they actually. I know the city has a CRA. I'm not sure the county did, but there we did a planning director for the Southwest Florida Regional Planning Agency. We placed. Well, let me see. Written down. I probably should use it. We have Escambia County Planning Director. This is in paragraph form. It's hard to read, to pull out.
Right, so you've done some in South Florida.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And absolutely. Miami. We did the island that was off of Biscayne Bay. It's a park.
Okay. How about something with a demographic similar to Boynton Beach?
Country, though.
Well, yes. First of all, I did drive through your 1,650-acre CR region earlier today. A lot of the work we've done have been for ocean. It may not be planning, but city management that has planning component to it. Ocean City is the most recent one that comes to mind. We've worked for Pompano. We worked for you folks before. I did the work that resulted in Kurt Bresner coming here a few years ago. We've worked for Fort Lauderdale.
Okay. All right, that's great. Let me just one more question. In your networking, you say you do a lot of networking.
Yes, sir.
How would you send that out over the network, the social pages? What would you say to attract a candidate other than salary? Why would that candidate want to come to Boynton? Give me just a couple of lines of what you would say about Boynton Beach and your networking.
First of all, the location is fabulous. The CRA has been in existence since 1981. You've been very active, and it's been very successful. And over the last 3 or 4 years, it's been highly successful. And it doesn't take a genius to figure that out. You just drive up and down Federal Highway to see that. I don't know enough about you to be able to talk about the qualities of the board, but that would be an asset, I would think. Okay. The city government is well respected. Financially, you're sound.
And what is your fee, sir?
Our fee is 15. I had a PowerPoint that I was working on, but it's in the custody of the Geek Squad at the moment. The computer broke down, so excuse me for fumbling here, but that's
problem.
160.
Yes, that's right. Thank you. Plus expenses, and the expenses are capped. And the expenses include all of our out-of-pocket expenses, including advertising, including report preparation, including my travel, including travel to the candidates for site visits. What it does not include is the cost to bring candidates to you folks.
Not including expenses, but you say the expenses are capped. What's that number?
55%, and it's in there. If you, here it is finally. It's 55% of the 15,160, and it's the total that will not exceed using that 55% is 8,338. We don't spend any more of that than if we don't spend that, you don't pay it. If we spend more than that, you don't hear about it. It is not particularly. I wouldn't expect to spend that, and you control that because you know where I'm traveling. And our trip from Atlanta, where I live in Atlanta, to here is not that expensive. So when I work in Florida, it usually means that we don't go to over that cap.
I have questions. You said that when you came here, you rode down Federal Highway. Is that the only place that you rode?
I'm sorry, Commissioner, I didn't mean to cut you off. I had a map of the redevelopment area, and I tried to see as much of that as I could, but it's one of the things I want to do, if I'm fortunate enough to work for you, is get a tour. Because it is very difficult for me to see to know what I'm looking at. But I tried to see what I read about, and I passed I saw the office, and I drove I saw the parks, and I saw some of the housing, I saw some of the commercial, and some of the new residential. So,
sir, I'm going to go ahead and stop you. First of all, but you've been talking longer than I want to hear anyway. First of all, you said that if I was trying to bring a recruitment person here, I would have gotten with somebody from the CRA and said, take me over this district. Let me find out what you all are trying to do. You said that you had 3 managers from Los Angeles. What was the success rate of those 3 managers?
Well, they were there for a long time, and one of them became.
They've been there. Excuse me. They've been there. Are they still there?
That was 20 years ago. One of them was promoted
to. Are they still there,
the,
sir?
20 years is, I'm going to say no.
Okay.
And right. One of them became the executive director.
I'm going to stop you. Okay, the next thing is, what is your overall success rate? I'm just saying when you recruit somebody, what would you say is your success rate? That's all I need to hear.
All of our assignments have been filled by people that we recommend, and we continue to work for you until that happens.
What is your success rates for the retainer?
How long they've been?
Give me
the
some
average
idea.
All right. The average for most public sector executives is something like 5 years. Our average is 7 point something the last time I checked it.
You answered my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything else from the board? Seeing none, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. You have a good evening. And
Will do. And can you send the next candidate out as well?
Yes, I sure will.
Appreciate it.
Sir, before you even start, I'm going to ask one question that's relevant to me. When you was requested to come in, did you tour the CRA district, the entire district? Yes or no?
No.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead. I'm ready.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm W.D. Higginbotham with the Mercer Group. I won't take a lot of your time. I know your time is valuable. What I would like to do is, I'm not certain if you have an executive summary that I prepared and I sent with the proposal itself. I've made extra copies and I would like to go over that. It'll touch on the salient points of the proposal and we can go through it quickly that way, and then I would turn it over to you for questions. That way I won't take much of your time.
I don't have a hard copy, so I'd like one.
I'm sorry?
I don't have a hard copy. We'll take some.
You can just give it and we'll pass it down.
Thank you.
This one, give it here. Here.
Thank you
That's
very
the way
much.
we do it. Thank you. Yeah, we've seen it, yeah.
Got it.
Mr. Chairman, member of the board, I understand you do have the complete proposal in front of you, but as I said, I'm going to go through the executive summary I've prepared for you, and it'll take a few minutes, and then I'd like to turn it over to you for any questions you might have of me. First of all, the Mercer Group has been in operation for 26 years, a little over 26 years. Our headquarters are in Atlanta. We have offices in 13 states, including one here in Florida, in Volusia County, which is where I operate out of. I handle all the recruitments for Florida. Typically, I'm not just limited to Florida, but I operate statewide and sometimes nationwide, sometimes offshore as well. I've been in the public sector management business for over 30 years, city manager of 4 cities in Florida since '84, as well as director of economic development for the Regional Planning Council of North Central Florida for 8 years. I've been in the recruitment business for the last 5 years, and with that, I would be your project manager to serve you with this search and recruitment. There's more details on that, pages 1 through 4 in the proposal. I also put the website that I maintain here in Florida. If you choose to look at that, you can learn more about me, and on that particular website there's a brief bio on me. Mr. Chair, board members, the services we provide are outlined in detail on page 5, but generally we provide position analysis, the profile, we develop that, the recruitment for the position, inviting potential candidates to apply, reviewing and screening applications, conducting the interviews, the reference checks, the background checks, and including credit checks, criminal records, not only local, state, and federal as well. We have a 7-step approach, and those are outlined pages 6 through 9 in the proposal. I've summarized them here, the 7, the position analysis I mentioned, where we'll define the work relationship and the job qualifications, requirements for the position. I will meet with you, I would like to meet with you about a week after, or within a week or so after you would make the selection, if we were fortunate enough to be selected to handle this assignment. A roundtable meeting would work well, but if we have to do it individually, that'll work as well. Obviously, a roundtable meeting would have to be a public meeting, and I understand that. But nonetheless, I would gather the information from you, what you're looking for. We'd put it together in a position announcement and prepare a brochure for you and handle our solicitations that way. The recruitment process, we'll recruit statewide, regionally, or nationally, if you like. I suspect most clients in Florida would like to see some Florida experience. In some cases, they want only Florida experience. But if we would attract candidates, even if we advertise only in Florida through like the Florida League of Cities or through local professional journals in the state of Florida, we're going to attract candidates from all over the country. We review the resumes. We identify the qualified candidates. The candidate screening is done specifically by me. I personally speak to each of the qualified candidates. I spend anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half with if possible, face-to-face, but most often it's going to be a telephone screening interview. I pose a number of questions, but I'm there to listen to see what they have to say for that hour, and the candidates will tell me a lot about themselves when in the course of an hour. I would come to you with a recommended list of semifinalists. We hope to come forward, and depending on the type of recruitment, anywhere from 8 to 12 candidates. I would meet with you, perhaps in an environment such as this, where we can review the semifinalists. I'll present you with the detailed information, the screening interview information, any internet research we can do without their permission. My intent at that point would be to narrow the list down to those that you would want to interview here face-to-face, whether it's 3, 4, or 5, and there's no magic to that number. Once, if you make those selections, we would do background research on the candidates with their permission. We can do that, and those would include, as I mentioned before, their academics, their criminal background, their credit records, their driving records, and their reference checks and past employment and such. That would be presented to you before you would interview them for the final interview in a written report. You'd have that in your hands ahead of time. If the board wishes, we would conduct or coordinate a meet and greet in the community for those final candidates, where you and the community and staff could meet the candidates, and it would be an informal meeting. Obviously, it'd be a call meeting, because I'm sure 2 or more of you would be in attendance. But they would be there just to mingle with those that wish to speak with them. The schedule is laid out on page 10. We estimate it's going to take 10, 11 weeks to complete the process, and we have no difficulty maintaining that. I will keep you informed on a weekly basis on our status, let you know the candidates we have that have responded, not only those are qualified, but those that are not, that have responded. On page 11, we set forth our fees. We present to you a flat fee. It's all inclusive, all expenses included, and it's a flat $15,750. It won't be more. It's not going to be less unless you want me to do less, and that's something we could negotiate. But typically it would be this amount. And again, I emphasize, there will be no additional fees or expenses. On page 13, we list out our 10 guarantees, and while all of them are important, I want to touch on a few of them. One is, we keep working until you select the candidate you want, and we have a success. We do not fail. We've been successful. I've been successful for the 5 years with every recruitment I've handled, and we do have a record throughout the company of success. If the ones you select to interview, you're not happy, we'll continue the recruitment process until you have the candidate you want, and I want to emphasize that. Once a candidate's selected, we're not going to recruit we'll never recruit that candidate from you for another position elsewhere unless it would come with your permission, and that might come where after some period of time the candidate chooses to leave of their own accord, and they may reach out to me. Well, I'm not going to recruit them or use them in another recruitment without your permission. For a period of 2 years after we would make the placement, we're not going to recruit any candidates from within your organization. We do not present the same candidate simultaneously to more than one client at a time. The Community Redevelopment Agency, we don't handle those as often as we would a city manager position, because we might end up with 15 or 20 of those in the course of a year, and we could easily be handling more than one city manager recruitment and get the same candidates for the several different positions. We don't accept the candidates in more than one position simultaneously. It keeps us from any conflicts of interest when we approach it that way. If the selected candidate leaves your employment for any reason within 2 years, we will replace the candidate for the expenses only, and that's typically advertising. Mr. Chair, members of the board, with that, I would entertain any questions you might have.
I have one question, sir, not for you. I have a question for staff, and that is for the last three gentlemen who stood before us. They said they're looking for what we want. Did you all submit a job description to these individuals saying what of a CRA director for the city of Boynton? Did they receive a copy of that?
I believe we did, yes.
Okay, then, so that's halfway telling you what we want. I'm just saying everybody's coming with the same story. I'm okay. I'm fine.
I saw that there are some out-of-state costs run about $600 to $750 per person.
Mr. Chair, yes, if you're going to bring someone in, whether it's out of state or they could come from Tallahassee or they could come from Houston, Texas, it just depends on. They're going to fly in from, depending on where they're coming from, they're likely going to drive from anywhere within the state. So the cost would obviously be lodging, and if they would probably stay over 1, maybe 2 nights. Mr. Chair, if I might make a comment on the Vice Chair's question about the job announcement. Yes, sir, those things are certainly helpful, but one of the things I want to do when I meet with you is there might be some idiosyncrasies you're looking for in a candidate that a boilerplate is just not going to fit all the candidates. There are some unique attributes that each candidate may have, and those are the things I look for when I screen the candidates, and that's why I like to spend some time with you and others in the community you would like me to meet with that might want to have input on who we're looking for.
Sir, that is fine, but I'm just saying, if you would have toured our city, I'm just saying you would have, for me, you would have seen where my heart lies. I'm just saying, and you would have had some type of idea of what I am looking for. I'm looking for someone who's able to revitalize, bring growth to this city. I'm just saying, these are things that you should have been telling me. I'm just saying, I understand what you're saying. You haven't hit my pulse yet, sir. I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, with your permission, Mr. Vice Chair, if I'm awarded the contract, excuse me, before I meet with you in a week, I will have toured your city, and I will come to you with my suggestions as well as entertain what you're looking for and attributes of those candidates. I will spend some time in your community.
Okay.
Comments, questions?
If I'm understanding correctly, are you a veteran, sir?
I have served my country in 3 wars, but as a contractor, and most recently 7 years ago in Iraq. But I'm not a military veteran. I was trained by the military, but I was a contractor.
Baghdad, what was that?
I was recruited by ICMA through the Department of Defense to teach transparency in government to the provincial councils in Iraq. I say that, a lot of folks say that must have been quite a challenge. It was proved to be somewhat of an oxymoron, but I spent some time there. What can I say?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
All right. Yep. Thank you. I think if there's anyone up from the public that would like to make any comments before we discuss as a board. Yeah, you'd have to. Yes, absolutely. Thank you, sir. Okay, yeah, we'll call all of you back in.
Hello, everybody. My name is Peter Guillaume, and I was looking for exactly how to get into that
What's your
registry.
address, sir?
Yes.
Your address. You gave us your name, but we need your address.
Boynton Beach.
That's good. What street?
305 Southwest 5th Ave.
Thank you.
33435. The quote.
Yep, that's good. Thank you.
Okay. I was looking how to get into that registry for this director of CRA. Exactly, do I go online to register, or do I come to the city hall?
So what we're discussing right now is hiring a firm to go through all the candidates throughout the country or world to pick out the select few that meets our requirements. So we haven't put out the opening for the CRA.
Oh, so there's no way to get involved in that ring of arena that they'd be looking for?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. Well, and then exactly how y'all gonna be able to establish a connection between the people that's supposed to be able to get involved in today's?
That's what they were explaining to us, is that they have that process to go out into the community and speak with us to get the correct candidate fit for the CRA.
Would a community representative of a council group would be able to do the job that they're doing also, or would they be able to participate?
Without I don't think I know of a community person who has that experience of.
No, if it was just for future tense in 6 years from now, if y'all looking for another director.
I don't have to worry about 6 years from now. I think that what we're going to be doing is discussing the candidates. So if you have any questions or comments on the candidates.
Oh, the candidates.
Yeah, not necessarily the CRA director position.
Oh, okay. I was just trying to figure out the whole overall deal.
So,
but thank you, though, then.
You're welcome.
I guess y'all already answered my question.
Let me explain it to you. Once they start meeting with the community, then this is the time that you could meet with them when they have their sessions and put your input in and say, this is what, as a young man, this is what we're looking for you all to help bring to this community. That's when we get input from the citizens. That's when you all will come in and help us decide on who we need to be hiring.
Oh, okay. Thank you. That's understood.
Thank you.
Good evening again, Lisa Brown Bannock. Do I need to say my address again? 720 East Ocean Avenue. Okay. I had two questions about the process for selection of the recruiting firm or agency that will ultimately select the executive position that is open. What is the time frame to select the recruiting agency or firm, and what is the time frame to actually select to fill the void?
I mean, I can answer that. Well, we could select it tonight. The recruiting firm, we may be able to, might want to table it to think about it for 30 days. In the meantime, the interim director is running the helms of the CRA, and then most of them have about a 3-month process of vetting the candidates and then bringing out the one towards us or the select few for us to decide.
And as a follow-on with some of the comments and questions from all sides, in that 3-month time frame, the community, I guess I'm asking a question, will the community then have an opportunity like a town hall or a Q&A forum, and,
I think that
that'll be announced?
That is something that we would all want, is that to have a town hall with if we hire a firm, so that they can get all the input, not just from us, the board, but from the community as well.
So those expectations will be required of whoever you hire?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
No comment. So, any discussion? Board Member Katz, I know that you discussed a little bit about this when I wasn't here.
And basically, at this point, and Board Member Casello kind of touched on even a little more conservative version of what I was looking at. Basically, we gave the interim position to Mr. Simon over here, and in the 2+ months that he's been running the show, and he's had, his bag full. Basically, he's had issues with, development, obviously, with employment at the firm, at the agency, with events. Some of our landmark events have taken place in the past 2 months under his stewardship. I think that he's shown in the short time he's been in control a lot of potential for occupying that position full time. So I personally have seen so much that I would have liked to offer him potentially what would essentially be a 1-year contract, I guess, up at August, as if he had been signed after the previous director left. But if what board member Casello had mentioned earlier is more amenable to the board, just to keep him on, I guess, as an interim position until a later date so that we have more time to evaluate him, that's kind of the direction I'm going. I know at the last meeting, there were comments said with regards to not wanting a management agency, and they were along the lines of, we want somebody who has knowledge of Boynton Beach. The current interim director not only has knowledge of Boynton Beach, he lives here, has worked here for some period of time. As far as the potential for job security, individuals at the CRA, if a new director came in or if a management firm had come in, there's the risk that they might kind of go through the place and remove some people. And I would assume that if the interim director were given an opportunity to stay on, that he probably wouldn't remove the people because he's worked with them and he knows if they shouldn't be there, they wouldn't be there under his guard anyway. So I'm looking to extend his potential time here to give us a greater window to evaluate what his opportunities might be. I think it's only fair that we give him a shot to earn or audition for the position, so to say.
And so the other issue is also hiring an interim as well.
Yeah, I think if we're trying to evaluate his abilities, it would only be fair if he had an active assistant.
Okay.
Can I make comments?
Yes.
First of all, I believe in hiring from within. Okay, he is already serving as an interim director. I'm quite sure that he could find someone within the scope of the individuals who work there now to say, okay, you will be my assistant, and then hire another position to fulfill somebody else who we need to fulfill that position. Interim positions, they run the course of until the board or whoever is governing them feel that it is time that we should make them a permanent. I talked to Mr. Simon this morning, and he has agreed that if we so desire and so choose, that he would like to be the permanent. Having listened to these management companies, and who said that they could not management companies, search companies that could come in and tell them what we want and stuff. I listened to the presentation. I listened with open-minded, and I'm just saying, I believe in hiring from then. We have a jewel right here. I'm just saying, let's give him a fair shot. Let's see what he can really do. I'm just saying, if he needs some more staff, I feel like he need to step to us and say, I need to hire this position. I'm going to go ahead and put this out there, Mr. Simon. You didn't step to us when you fired somebody, so I don't think you need to step to us when you need to hire somebody. I'm just saying.
Mayor, if I just may, Board Chair, rather.
Yeah.
That 6-month number that I put out there, I'd like the 2 months that he's been on the job now count towards that 6 months. So with the evaluation or the internship would go for approximately another 4 months before we decide to hire permanent.
So basically, you're saying that the time frame that I gave was that most of the hiring firms said about 3 months. You're saying let's give the hiring firms actually additional time for the search?
Well, I'm saying I'm not so sure that we need to pick a search team at this point. That's my point.
Okay, is that what you were saying?
Right.
Okay, I didn't understand
My point is that the interim director, he's served for approximately 2 months already of the 6 months that I talked about. So I'd be comfortable giving another 4 months doing the, in the position as interim, and then we could reevaluate it at that time and either hire the search firm or hire Mr. Simon permanently.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not in favor of extending it for the 4 months. I'm in favor of it being like it is now. Let him go ahead and serve as the interim director until we feel, as the board, saying, okay, it's time for us to get rid of this interim title like we did with the city manager, and said it's time that we step to the plate and give him the permanent position and then move from there. I'm just saying I don't think we need to place another 4 month time frame on that. I think he's doing a great job.
So we're getting a little bit off topic here. The question that I have for the board is that, are we looking to hire any of the search firms today? Do we want to table that to a future date?
Motion to table.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I would just say personally, I know that the firms that came out to present today, I apologize that I'm taking the position I am to you, that I'm not looking to retain your services right now, but just in terms of sunshine and legality, I couldn't necessarily project that to anybody. So I'll just apologize and thank you guys for your coming out if in fact this gets tabled.
I think they're still all outside, so I don't know if they can hear us or not. And any further discussion? So my comment is that the reasons why we were going to do this is to look to see what opportunities available we have throughout the country. I'm pleased with the work that Interim Director Simon has done, and I'm not opposing to table hiring a firm until because that way we would be, if we choose to accept continue with Mr. Simon, we will be saving the taxpayers the additional $15,000 to $25,000. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, so.
And would it be an appropriate time to discuss? I know that Board Member Costello had mentioned a months of a time frame for the interim position before we reevaluate. I know Vice Board Member McCrae, but just.
So I'd ask I forgot to ask Vice Mayor McCrae, is there a time limit that you'd like to table this?
Just for his own kind of.
Do you want to table it for 4 months based upon Commissioner Costello's, or?
Why don't we go ahead and forget about the 2 months that he's already worked? Let's just go ahead and table this for a 6-month period from this point to 6 months, and then we'll come back and reevaluate.
Okay. Does the board agree with that? Okay. It seems the board all agrees. And so we'll table this item for 6 months. And so I would ask the interim director to let the candidates know that.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah. Are they still outside? Officer, can you check to see if they're still outside? Okay. They're not there. All right. Okay.
Mr. Board Chair, just for clarification, are we going to allow or encourage that the interim director has the ability to hire an assistant?
That is not on the agenda. Is that something that
can we talk about that at this point?
Sure. You want to add it under new business?
Sure.
Not right now, though.
Sure.
Okay. The other thing is I'd like to put that on item 14F. So may I have a motion to reconsider the adoption of the agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, so we're going to add to item 14F the ability to hire assistant interim director.
I think that's right. No assistant interim director. I'm just saying. We need to hire an assistant to the director, not an interim assistant director, because everybody can't be interim. I'm just saying, so we're discussing when it gets
assistant to the director. All right. Okay. Moving on to item F. Discussion of requests for proposal and qualifications for the Cottage District site.
Yes, Board, as you are aware from the cover and know from experience here with us, that the CRA issued an RFQ for the property that we own that has been called the Cottage District and part of the CRA plan. This is approximately a 4.5 acre site that's bordered by on the west side by North Seacrest Boulevard, and the south by Northeast 4th Avenue, and the north by 5th, and the east by 1st. Over the years, the CRA has been accumulating property within this block that is, by the old plat, almost a block and a half in width, as opposed to the blocks around it that the lots on either side on 4th or 5th abut to each other. In this particular plat block, there's an offset of the centerpiece that is quite large, so it's an imbalance of size of lots. The idea was that the site be replatted to accommodate smaller housing, somewhat described as a cottage-style house that would provide for single-family home ownership, which is something that has been desired within the community and has been established in the plan, and would also create some diversification of the citizenry there, because I think you're going to have varying ages, perhaps, that are going to occupy these smaller square footage houses. They'd be designed to be similar to those historic houses on the south side of 4th, to kind of give it that cottage feel or historic feel. The idea was that the developers would supply us with their proposals to try to meet the criteria within the RFP. And unfortunately, as of the deadline for submissions, which was November 16th, the CRA did not receive any submissions or proposals for developing that project as we had described. So in my cover, I just kind of briefly go over, I think that it reflects a little bit of the economic time for the single-family speculative housing within the area of North Seacrest and really South Seacrest. There are some infill lots that are being completed with single-family. I think if Town Square or a similar project of that caliber could happen, I think it's going to create a lot more interest from the development community. I think it's going to create a lot more interest from the general public as well within this area for probably housing resales and new residents as well. So it's a great piece of land, somewhat similar, I think, in the values as Ocean Breeze to the agency and to the community as an owner of it, to direct its future. So my suggestion, and certainly we'll respect any suggestion from the board, is to hold off on it. It's primarily an update today, and if you have direction, new direction to take, certainly we'll plan that way. But I would like to also meet with some of the single-family housing developers within the area that maybe our product or our requirements, our vision for the lots and the block doesn't match what the development community really would like to put there. So I'd like to kind of reevaluate that as well, and revisit this item maybe in 6 or 8 months, perhaps. And
I'd like to go with comments first, if that's okay. Basically, we're trying to build single-family homes here. I'm looking up what a housing authority does using federal money to help build affordable housing in the community. This is kind of what we're trying to do. And so I'd like to know is that, is the CRA able to do something with create a housing authority for this property and other properties within the CRA to facilitate using federal funds to help build these types of projects and to, use CRA funding as well? Because, we have a $10 million budget every year to use forward. It seems that the few $100,000 that we're going to use for the Ocean Breeze East and maybe even the $1 million for MLK South, it might not be used again this year. And it might be up for this board to say, you know what, we're going to build in the District 2 because we can't find anyone else to build in there. And so that's what I'd like to, the board to consider is that, is it going to be, are we going to stop trying to ask the private developers to come in here and say, hey, we believe in this area, we believe that we can rent it out, and we can build something, a product that the people here would want to live in.
I would agree with you, Board Chair. I would just like to ask that we get some type of research and information and
absolutely
input. That way we can make a wise decision based on this and move forward with that decision. But I think it's a great idea, and I know Brian Fitzpatrick, I believe, has been, he's back there, I think he's asleep, but I know this is something that he's been pretty adamant in vocalizing to us here as a board.
I think it's a great concept. I would just not pursue buying any more properties in that area at this time until we get a direction to what we're going to be doing. I don't know if there's any
think-
negotiations going on, but I
No,
would
there's
put
not any-
moratorium
no,
on that.
there's
Okay.
none
No, I
continuing now.
think for that site, we pretty much bought all the properties we could.
Okay.
I'm in favor of what we need to do is direct staff to bring back legal, to bring back to us the criteria for us to, go ahead and proceed to be a housing authority if we want to go that route, so that at least we know which way we're headed. Also, for Ocean Breeze, I'm just saying it was brought up by the community as well. If we can't get anybody to do anything over there, we could put single-family homes in there. I'm just saying that's an option. I'm just saying, we need to do something besides looking at weeds grow.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think our direction towards staff is that the private community has not come out, and so what can we do as a redevelopment agency to help build buildings? All right. Moving on to item G, Boynton's Women's Club window and door repair restoration project and CRA grant.
Yes, we have a representative from the Women's Club here. In the 2014-15 budget, the club was applying for and desiring to do a state grant for rehabilitation from funding source of the historic parts of the state, and we're going to they needed matching funds from the CRA. The board at that time approved a $50,000 grant to match those requirements, and they were able to obtain the state grant and have begun work on restoration in the Women's Club under the historic guidelines, which are much more difficult than regular guidelines for renovation, more expensive, much more detailed, and need the approval of a lot more bodies than just the building department. Warren has been fabulous here for the city and historic assistance with them, and I know that they're greatly appreciative of his time and our funding, and I just wanted to provide an update to you. It's been a long time since the beginning in 2014-15 with this, and I felt like they've done a drawdown here of $16,800, and it needed to be brought to your attention as I guess, a great step forward for preservation in Boynton.
Thank you. I'm Pat Waldron, member of the Boynton Women's Club, and another woman and I wrote the special category grant 2 years ago, and we were so appreciative of the CRA's support at that time. The grant has been ongoing, and it will be finished in January. We hope to have, or we will have, the ballroom totally renovated, doors and windows, as well as the entranceway to the ballroom and both landings on either side of the stairs. I want to thank the CRA for your support, and especially for recognizing the importance of this building in the city's history. Thank you very much. And I invite all of you to come visit the building next year once the renovations are complete.
It's a beautiful building as well. How many members do you have, the Women's Club?
Right now, we probably have around 75 members.
75 members.
And I must add older members.
And how do you generate income? I know I had my fundraiser down here last year, but how do you generate? Do we have enough venues down here to generate the income that we need to keep that building in the condition that it needs to be kept?
The building right now is being managed by an outside vendor. That lease will be up in 2017. And at this point, there is a good reason to believe that the Boynton Women's Club will be resuming the responsibility for the building again.
Just for further discussion down the future, and Mike and you and I have talked about this at some point, that maybe that's something the CRA would be interested in purchasing to preserve it in the pristine condition. I know as it gets harder and harder to generate income to make those repairs.
We certainly would be willing to discuss that with the CRA.
Okay, that's something down in the future, but I'd just like to throw it out there.
Well, the building holds such a history for Boynton Beach, and it basically is the heart of Boynton Beach. I'm not going to go into a lengthy discussion of why I feel that way. But I appreciate that, and I appreciate your interest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My comment is that I want to just tell you thank you for your newsletter. I did read it. Thank you.
Yes.
Your newsletter that
and
you
we-
sent out to us, I did read it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Item A is still tabled. Is it okay if we bump up item E, consideration of special events grants for Boynton Beach?
Sure.
Because I believe the committee's been waiting here.
Yep.
So, consideration of special events grant for Boynton Beach Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Celebration Committee. Would you please come up?
Right. Just before Mr. Murphy come up and start speaking, let me go ahead and jump in. This is one of those signature events that's done over in District 2. This year, we're looking for the Honorable Congressman Elsie Haston to be participating as one of the main attractions here this year. I have, met with Mr. Murphy. I'm just saying and spoke to him about, the $5,000 of which they're requesting, and they said administrative. And I wanted to make sure that Mercedes and Mr. Murphy, they was on the same page about what it can be spent for and what it cannot be used for. I'm just saying, before, and he stated that they are aware, and I need to ask staff, did you make him aware of what the funds could be spent for?
Yes, I did.
I can listen, we can listen to you now. I got a yes.
Good evening. My name is Greg Murphy. I serve as the co-chair for this year's MLK Celebration Committee, along with Battalion Chief Latasha Clemens and a host of other community members throughout the Boynton Beach community, along with some other employees from the fire department and the police department and other venues as well. I'd like to first start off by thanking my members that are here and present to support the presentation, and also thank the support of the CRA that they have given us for the past 3 years and the city of Boynton for the past 3 years. It's been awesome. As Vice Mayor McCray has said, this event has been around since about the 1990. About 1990, I believe, will document its first celebration here in Boynton Beach, and has gone on as a self-funding event from a mere march from the railroad on MLK over to Heritage Park to where that is now, and a small cleanup and a banquet held at Benvenuto's. In the past 3 years, we have upscaled the actual event to go from that mere march and a banquet to now having an actual parade. In conjunction with now CRA, they have a sponsored event called Unity Day that is also celebrated. This year has been connected the same day as the parade. We changed the dynamics of the banquet to now host a gala, and if you last year was a sellout event, a very dynamic event, our keynote speaker last year was the Dr. Avolta, who is the new superintendent for Palm Beach County Schools. We also added a community service project where we do some form of community service within the Boynton Beach community. Last year, we painted 4 houses successfully. All 4 have been successfully completed as of now. We had some issues in the beginning last year with weather, and some were postponed. But today, all 4 houses have been painted, and they were senior citizens of the heart of the Boynton Beach community. And we also do another event that's sponsored by CRA is Music on the Rocks. As you can see in front of you is the projected budget for this year's event, to request the $5,000 in assistance to supporting this year's goal for our 3 events that we host.
Okay, let me jump in. The CRA, we have budgeted like $40,000 for the entire MLK committee events for District 2. The reason we did that was because we said that we wanted to make it a signature event. Now, this board is coming back before us and said that they need an additional $5,000 to help offset some of the incurred costs in which they've seen that they have, incurred. And I'm just saying, and it will not be feasible for this group. I'm just saying if we did not go ahead and grant this, I'm just saying since they're so far ahead, like working, we need to stay there and help support this event. And I asked them to give us a budget to see how much money was left. They do have a balance of $577. And I'm just saying, as the district leader for District 2, where this event will be held, I'm in favor of them receiving these additional $5,000 in funds. So noted that for administrative costs, provided they go by the guidelines of the CRA, to be used in that manner.
The other thing is that, are you also allowing this for vendors to come in or sponsorship from community businesses?
Vendors are, the vendor event is Unity Day. That's where most of the vendors come in and house their merchandise or their eateries that they do have.
Is that going to the CRA or is that going to the MLK committee?
There is no cost for vendor fee, if I'm not mistaken.
I think there will be a cost, but I'm just saying what you could say is that it is going to the CRA committee so that will offset any other expenses that you all have. I'm just saying, like you coming to us this year requesting $5,000. If your kitty would be larger than $577, then perhaps you all might not have to come before us and request $5,000. You might have that much in your savings where you won't need us.
Ideally, yes.
Yeah, that should be a charge for vendors.
However, with that, the goal of the MLK events is not to house it as a fundraising event, because it's not. We're not. Our goal is not to make profit, but to open the event to for one, they take care of themselves, which they have, which the events have been doing. Additionally, but it's always a tough process in starting up again each year. So
right,
that's the struggle.
Right, but what we're saying to you is that for every event, I'm just saying, even like for downtown, there is a cost like for vendors to come in, and I'm just saying, if you all are not pursuing charging, then you all are losing out on granting funds. I'm just saying for your event, that's what we're trying to tell you. That should be a charge. I'm just saying if they want to bring their, just so you know, you have to give us $50. I'm just saying you're not going to break anybody, but it's encouraging them to come, and it's encouraging you all to have funds that you all can show us that you all are at least trying to help solve some of these $5,000. This is all we're saying.
The point is that is that having the sponsorships available, creating a T-shirt, you're more likely to make it bigger and grander every year by having that sort of money-making aspect to the MLK, so that the community can also help support this event.
I do understand.
Okay.
With the vendor event, though, I do want to make that is a CRA-sponsored event, so I believe all funds go back to the CRA.
Unity Day?
Hold on.
When we have an event like Movies on the Rocks or
Unity Day,
the concerts or our larger events, vendors do pay to be there. Our local vendors, local businesses, generally are free because they're on, like Kim Kelly's, if she had a vendor tent, we don't try to charge the local. We try to accommodate them, pay for the tent ourselves. But this event that you're speaking of is a MLK committee event. It is not a CRA-sponsored event. So your suggestions are to them on how they want to do that. But for movies and the concerts, are you planning on charging vendors to be there, the few that we'll have for the movies and the event and the concert? I don't think we.
No, we don't have vendors at the concerts. I think he's referring to the Unity Day.
Yes, to your own, right?
Which we fund.
Okay. So are we going to be charging for this?
I believe that we should charge, yes.
Okay.
At least a nominal fee to ensure that people actually show up, since we will be providing the tent and the table and the chairs.
I'm just saying this would be a nice, since you all have your committee and we have liaison from the CRA, we have liaison from the city. This should be something that you all can discuss as a group. And if you feel that it's viable, then do it. This is all we're saying. We're just trying to help you all kind of generate more funds so that your bottom line will look better than $577.
I totally agree.
All right.
In addition, I would suggest, for example, here you have on event 2 for MLK Celebration Gala, you have the program booklets. In those program booklets, do you have businesses, local businesses that are going to be sponsoring, like business size advertisements or?
We do ads.
And that's included in the
We do have an
program
ad
booklet?
campaign for the program booklet. Most time, by selling the ads, they take care of the cost of the booklet. It normally takes care of itself for the most part.
The police presence for the parade, is that like an in-kind donation from the city?
I believe that's worked out through the city for the parade.
It's in kind.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So what's the total we're actually voting on? An extra
Just
$5,000?
Extra $5,000, that's all.
And do we need to amend the budget, or?
We don't need to amend the budget. I'm just saying the $5,000, I'm just saying if we vote on it, it will be already granted. I'm just saying the monies are there.
And what's the total?
Let's see what Pat is saying.
Pat who?
It's a reimbursable
Whatever. Susan. You've just been renamed.
Apparently.
Sorry, Susan Harris, Finance Director. This grant is a reimbursable grant. So the funds are spent by whomever, and then they come to us with documentation that it was actually spent for the purposes of the grant, and then we reimburse them up to the $5,000 if the board decides to grant the full $5,000.
Okay. Then I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. I would simply just like to comment that, I know this is your first year as a chair as an organization requesting funds from the CRA, but I do notice that there were a couple of issues with the application in terms of you guys applied late to the deadline, and then there were several documents missing. So in the future, if you can make sure that, the professionalism is there where everything is already copacetic with your application. That way there's no questions or ifs, ands, or buts. It's just simply a matter of approving or disapproving the application.
Noted.
Thank you.
Let me say another comment. Since we have the crab board, I'm just saying, are they going to buy a table this year? In the room, Director, you could just think about that. Thank you. You can go sit.
Okay. Moving on to item B, 2017 CRA board meeting dates.
The only conflict with that is the January 10th meeting. Remember, I was saying when we were doing our commission meeting and we had the presentation by the FDOT, they're going to be having an event that night showcasing what they're doing with the interchange and the lines that they're drawing. So that was the only conflict that I noticed about the dates. I don't think we have to move it. I just wanted to make that public knowledge that there is a conflict in the dates. If somebody wanted to attend both the CRA meeting and that FDOT event, the two conflict in time and day.
I know yeah. Okay, and I just see April 11th, I believe, is the second night of Passover, but that'll be okay with me. So.
If there are no dates to move, then I think probably a motion to approve the dates as presented for the city clerk to have verification that these are approved by the board. I think I would.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to item C.
The item before you is the consideration of the agreement for services between the CRA and the Community Caring Center for culinary business incubator services for the fiscal year 2016-17. At the August 17th CRA budget meeting, the board approved the request for funding from the agency in the amount of $70,000 for the purposes of generating startup businesses and assisting existing businesses grow independent through workshops, training, and providing a site to prepare particular food items. That site is located on East Boynton Beach Boulevard. This is a one-year agreement, and similar to last year's agreement, the only difference is that we've tried to, staff and legal have tried to work to tighten some of the deliverables and make them a little bit more measurable. We've also increased the budget from $50,000 to $70,000. So we're looking to have them deliver 10 new full-time equivalent jobs from 4 last year. And we'd like to have a quarterly report with an increased focus on marketing and description of the individuals that they're assisting, providing background information and locations of where residency is, where their businesses intend to locate if that's known, trying again to tie the assistance to job creation and with an emphasis on Boynton Beach residents and or existing Boynton Beach businesses. The agreement has been approved by the Community Caring Center and is left for us to approve. we will need a motion for that.
You know, I'm glad that you said that they agreed. That's the part that I'm looking for, is that it has been presented to them, and this is an incubation program, and we're seeing a lot of success from this program, and I'm going to offer a motion that we approve this.
Second.
Yeah, I just would like to have the discussion that I was over there at the Cedar Garden Cafe last Saturday for the taste of something special, and food was delicious, and so I'm looking forward to having more great food coming to Boynton Beach.
We also have quite a few vendors at the Taste of Boynton every year, some of the folks that are involved in that program.
Okay, I see we have public comments. Yes.
Good evening, Brian Fitzpatrick, 409 Northeast 1st Street.
Brian, before you start, I know you weren't sleeping, so I knew that.
No, of course not. I just want to throw something out there. I mean, certainly the Community Caring Center does an exceptional job of providing services to the community. I think it's kind of off the topic, but I think we need to start thinking about perhaps putting a little pressure on the Community Caring Center to agree to relocate from their what essentially is a duplex. It was approved by the City Commission back in the early 2000s. The City Commission granted them the approval to actually operate.
This is not necessarily on the agenda.
No, it's not, but it is and it isn't. Because we were earlier talking about the Cottage District, and their building is located in the Cottage District. It's outgrown it. And actually, that could have been one of the stumbling blocks in getting a developer to, come in there, because all of their customers park on all the adjacent lots, and it's kind of, creating a situation over there that maybe we need to look at the bigger picture and helping them find a new location. That's all I have to say about that.
Point of information, Brian, I've had this discussion just about every meeting I've had with the former director on how we have to relocate. They are in the process of looking for, hopefully with this new director that we have here, that we can get that done. But it's well documented that you're absolutely right. They do need a new location, and we will be working diligently to see if that can happen.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Do you have a place in mind? I'm just kidding.
Not across the street, right?
I'll keep it in mind. Thank you.
But so I think that's not. So we moved, and it has been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And so I think, speaking of what Board Member Costello said, is that we may have the new director look at commercial spaces available. Maybe that the CRA will purchase some and maybe build a building. But I think that might be something for a future agenda or maybe next year's budget.
Definitely a need.
Okay, so I think that we'll try to put that for next year's budget. Moving on to item C.
Item C is being brought before you as a kind of an administrative.
No, D. I'm sorry. D. D. Consideration of revised. It started with the C.
Yes. Consideration of revised credit card policy, which is part of the Human Resource Policy and Procedures Manual. This is really a staff driven change, and because it is part of the human resource policy, it needs staff approval. It's not an administrative change that Susan and I can make. It's really being done simply as an attempt to provide another review, approval review for expenses that are made by staff with the credit card. It is going to be, I think, an easier process for the reconciliation of the monthly credit card receipt forms, and I think, as Susan has said, it'll probably add to the potential, take away the potential for the loss of receipts in between the use of the card and the time in which the reconciliation takes place. This is not going to inconvenience staff, I don't believe at all. Any time that the card would be used for a purchase, it would then be approved by either she or I for the item prior to its purchase as opposed to the way we do things now. We haven't had any issue with it with regard to acquiring something that's not part of a budgeted item, but it would allow us to keep a better and continual eye on what's being purchased and how the budget's being affected, I think more readily than to wait till after with this many employees and as many purchases that can be made. We've got large-scale event budgets that exceed $100,000 for an event, and you're on the go and you're moving fast and trying to get stuff done. It'll just kind of help. It'll help that. It'll help travel when folks are traveling with the card, and just kind of incidental expenses that are being done, routine, with the cards. But we'll constantly have that information available to us as staff. Just an added layer of review, of oversight.
Okay, I think this is a great new policy. My only question is that what happens if it says that the finance director will hold the cards? What happens if one of the staff members needs to make a purchase when they don't have the card available?
So they would meet with us and say we are getting ready to purchase additional lights for the stage, or we are getting ready to book our travel. So then they would sign out the card and travel with the card to, say, a conference when they would have access to it. It's essentially...
So this prevents staff from unilaterally making a decision that is the best for the CRA?
Yes, sir, and carrying it on their person where they could accidentally purchase something at Publix or mix cards between an event product and their own at Sam's or at Publix for ice. It happens, and we have a procedure on how to handle it if that does. It's human, mistake,
yeah.
But I think when you're
this will help limit that mistake.
No question. Yes, sir.
Michael, when those receipts come in, is it who reviews them? Is it just one person or two people?
We've added an extra signature to it. It would be the employee signs that this is accurate, and then Vicki would sign or Susan would sign. Now I will also sign. So there'll be three individuals reviewing it.
Let me ask another question. Is there a credit limit on this credit card?
All of them are a little bit different, but there is a limit. For regular staff, I believe it's $5,000, and for senior staff, it's $10,000. And those are amounts that over the years have stayed consistent. When you're booking, 6 or 7 hotels for travel, let's say for a conference, you're going to need a limit that is more than $1,500 or what have you. We actually explored trying to get a corporate card that would be easier to I guess just kind of eliminate the personal ones, but our bank does not allow for a corporate card anymore that's just in our name, so that theoretically anyone that would sign it could use it. So instead we've just left it as it is, and we'll just keep those under the supervision of the finance director. And we know when these are coming. This is not generally something that you wouldn't know is going to happen as an employee.
Well, I guess my next question is that we may need to look to see which credit card is the best for this new policy, whether we look to get a new provider. I don't know who the current bank or issuer is, but maybe maybe we wanted to look at other credit card options as well.
We can provide that analysis to you. I know that Susan did her best due diligence with that, and I'll let her explain to you all in detail or present to you in detail what those costs might be and what the cost of moving the funds that we have there, perhaps to get that type of a card at another bank. But I'm sure we'll be happy to look into that and let you know.
At the next meeting, not tonight, okay?
No. No, I think you all know Susan well enough, but I think it's always good to present the information as well as trust in it.
Well, thank you. All right. So
motion to approve. Second.
Is there a second? Been motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. We've went through item E. Moving on to item F regarding assistant director. Joe?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair. I think that the body of work, the load of work that the CRA does, I think that the director, the former director, she had an assistant as Michael, and I think that we should afford him the same capability of hiring someone. My only thing is that this particular person, if you choose to hire someone, is kept in the loop. Is like the next man up. It surprised me, Michael, is that how isolated you were from the actual going on, the day-to-day going on, and some of the decision-making. And that's troublesome. I think that whoever it is, the management down there needs to be all on the same page and know the criteria, what needs to be done. So I would encourage that kind of a communication if you so choose to hire someone.
Completely agree with that philosophy, 100%.
Let me jump in. My take is that since you're the interim director, I'm not in favor of hiring an assistant director. If you want to make an administrative 1, 2, or 3, I'm in favor of that. I'm just saying because if we get a firm to come in and say, they got a replacement for you per se, then you can go back to interim director. I'm just saying make an administrative 1, 2, or 3. I'm in favor of that. I'm just saying move them up like on the ladder.
Okay, so, basically we have two comments. One is for an assistant director, one is for an assistant. Is kind of...
Let me ask the interim director what he'd prefer.
Well, I think on the spot it's a tricky item because if my period ends, then you're not satisfied, which I assure you will be. And again, thank you for the opportunity. That should have been my first comment.
Counting on it, Michael.
But if you're hiring something as at the level of an assistant director or of that level of assistant, because they're going to be attending meetings that'll involve developers and acquisition and what have you, if that ends in, let's say, a 4-month period or a 6-month period, I don't know what type of security. They could be a consultant, perhaps, or something along that line. But I think, given the shifting that would be going on, if there were a change, would be difficult in hiring someone that quickly to get them on board and have that type of teamwork and relationship that you'd want to have with an assistant director. I think the suggestion of another administrative type, or could be even a firm that would supply staff like we had with Lisa some months ago, that we hired a staff person to help out with Pirates.
I think the city has something like that, don't we? Excuse me, Michael. Don't we
No, of
have?
course.
Didn't we hire on a temporary basis to fill in?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you suggested,
that's great.
right?
And I would certainly use the city's resources to
Okay.
help me find something like that. The other is if I use someone, let's say, add to their workload or move up without the positions being filled on lower levels, I think you now end up with multiple ones to fill. So I really appreciate your offer of support, and I'll work it with the city to see if they have some suggestions on a person that can slide in and do some of that, or we can find the consultant or the temporary person ourselves and move forward.
All right, why don't we just leave it up to you to go ahead and study and bring back a report to this is what I'm in favor of. Okay. I'm not in favor of just keep hiring people to consult. I'm just saying, we need bodies with benefits. I'm just saying, forget that consultant stuff, okay?
Yes,
I just need you to start, this is the way I would like to go. You're the interim director. As my mama could say, you got the job, act like it, okay?
All right.
Your mama used to say?
Yeah.
Okay, and so,
wash dishes when I didn't want to.
So I'm a little confused with your motion was...
To let him make it's no motion. It's just for him to make a decision and bring something back to us to let us know what he's looking for.
Okay, for next month.
Yes.
Fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. Okay. Before we take a call on that, I just would like to say is that, one of the things that the CRA has been lacking is the investment aspect. So, maybe you look to someone who is an investment professional to help sell the CRA of Boynton Beach to developers is one of the things that you might be wanting to look at. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Seeing none. Moving on to the CRA Advisory Board. City Services Survey for the CRA. We reviewed that at the city. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none. Any discussion on any pending item? Seeing none. Okay, so my new assignment that I wanted to discuss was what happens, or what are the needs and wants of the board when a developer is asking for tax incremental funding. I know with New Rock we asked for a community benefits agreement. And so I want to, bring this to the community, the CRA board, to ask them to help us determine what things that we would want for tax incremental funding and what are the things that we need for tax incremental funding. Because this is taxpayers' dollars going to a private developer. One of the things that I would also like to see is, workforce housing or affordable housing in developments. Maybe is there open space? Is there Wi-Fi available on the outside? And so those are the things that I'd like for the CRA Advisory Board to look at, to come back with us for things that we may consider when someone is asking the CRA for tax incremental funding.
Sometimes I think we were stepping outside the scope of what the advisory board was set up to do. I think the advisory board was set up to look at certain projects in the CRA district that we might have a question on, but we got them doing surveys, we got them to be setting up.
No. We got that
boards.
information back. They made a recommendation.
Well, I'm just saying that I don't believe that was the initial idea of having an advisory board. The advisory board was to specify on a question we might have on a particular project coming up out of the ground. I think the scope of their work is expanded. I think Mr. Simon will tell you that they go through the whole agenda as it stands right now before we even see the agenda, making recommendations. I don't think that's the idea of what the advisory board was set up to be.
I agree with that, and I think that's also what we may want to discuss as well. What exactly, things that we have the advisory board do rather than the full agenda, is it's just specific projects. When there's a developer asking for tax incremental funding, I think that's definitely a project, something that they would have to consider. Do you agree with that?
I agree, and then they could bring back something to us, and I'm just saying we can look to see, if this is something we agree with. We might miss something. It's an advisory board.
And what I'll add is that, I do believe that the CRA Advisory Board, there is a lot of redundancy in the fact that they're doing our agenda and then we're doing the agenda again. I believe we could potentially maybe slide back off of that and have them actually work on these pending items, because I think there are some great things that are here pending that they could be doing for us, but they don't have time because they're too busy going through the agenda and doubling the efforts that we're already doing. So I would say potentially let's maybe revise their role, which is to maybe give us suggestions on the agenda items if they feel they need to, or if they want to have input on a certain item on our agenda, but let's have them change their focus and really work on these pending items. And I think your suggestion about what you're trying to ask them to be doing as an assignment is something that we can add on that list. So we have 4 things now, or potentially 4 things that they could potentially do or try to catch up on, instead of spending time going over the agenda every other week or every other month. I'm sorry.
So, is that the form
and
of the motion?
And we do have 2 members of the CRA board here, or sorry, the CRAB board here, so they can feel free to give input in terms of what they would like to do and how they feel.
Let me get what you're saying with your motion is that to add the new assignment of the tax incremental funding, what are the things that the board would want and need, and that's to come up with recommendations for the 4 items and not review the old and new business of the CRA board.
She's saying not to do the agenda. I'm just saying.
That's the agenda, the old board, the old business and new business.
But as a board, are we responsible if a developer comes in, he's looking for a differ? Isn't it up to us to decide?
Absolutely.
Okay, so why do we need the redundancy of an advisory board?
Well, they can
tell us that.
Well, can make recommendations for what we are asking from that developer. It's like, we don't want to just give developers money. We want
I understand that. That's why we get elected up here, to sit up here to make those decisions.
Absolutely, and I would love to have their recommendations. That's why I'm asking for it.
It might be something that we missed that they probably caught, or they could bring to our attention. I'm just saying, we have the final say. I'm just saying the buck stops with us.
Absolutely, and I think what the mayor is suggesting, if I'm understanding him correctly, is that with the TIF agreements, we could have some type of standard policy where individuals could understand what they're coming before us and what we already kind of have an expectation of. Just like I asked about the community benefits agreement, where we could create some type of agreement that people understand and know exactly what we as a city, or what we kind of already have an idea that we want, and they should at least have these minimum guidelines before coming to us, asking for money from us or asking for any type of benefits for their project to go through.
I would just, not to preempt you, Linda, I'm sorry, but
Okay.
just caution, implementing additional regulation without considering the fact that the CRA is kind of a unique creature and that each piece of development that occurs in the CRA is also unique within itself. So while I have no problem, whether it's the advisory board or us coming up with a list of suggested things or items we would like to see in exchange for TIF, that just, to me, this seems like something that comes up on a case-by-case basis, and setting standards or minimum regulations or whatever we might call them. I think that, again, we need to approach it on a case-by-case basis. I don't know where necessarily this is all going.
I agree with you on the case-to-case basis. I think that having the information before the case comes in of all the different tools available for TIF. And I'll open it up to public comments now.
Thank you. Linda Cross, 65 Casa Loma Boulevard, Unit 601, Boynton Beach, Chair of the CRA Advisory Board. A couple things just on the looking at the items on the agenda. The City Services Survey, yes, we did go over that at the City Commission because it was the City Commission, actually, same people but different board, that asked us to look into that, and which we did. We have done the research on the potential CRA grant for job creation, and I know that we've connected up Mike Simon with an organization that does that and try to see how the CRA and that organization can work together. The 29 recommendations, we have gone through all 29, have looked at which ones we think are relevant to Boynton Beach, which ones we don't think are relevant, and the ones that are relevant, we're going through step by step with, how those recommendations might be implemented here in Boynton Beach. I think we're on number 10 or 9. So we haven't quite worked through all 29, but not all 29 are actually relevant to us. But we're probably about a third of the way or a little more through working on those. The draft community benefits agreement, I think, was a new one that was just added on last week, and basically we've asked for information from the staff to get some community benefit agreements from other cities to kind of see what we might be able to put together on that. With respect to the comment tonight about the addition that to our agenda about what a developer what we may ask from a developer that is asking for direct investment funding from the CRA. I think that's a very important thing that the CRA Advisory Board and the CRA Board need to work together on, is to make sure that if a developer comes to the city and wants money, wants land, wants assistance, wants whatever, that we know exactly what benefits we want the city to have for that, and we can come up with some. I think that's absolutely something the CRA Advisory Board can work on. As far as going through the whole agenda, it is laborious. Our meetings last almost till 11 o'clock at night sometimes, going through your agenda, then going through all the things that you want us to look at. We've tried to narrow it down. We've tried to put things on sort of a consent agenda for us so that we don't have to sort of approve everything. And we've tried to, anything that we have made a recommendation for should be in your packet. But I don't think that necessarily going through the whole CRA Board agenda is really appropriate for the CRA Advisory Board. However, I will say that if there is any development that's going on within the CRA or that wants to go on within the CRA, especially if it's asking for any additional money, that I think the advice and the recommendations from the 7-member community is what the CRA Advisory Board was set up to do.
I think that works out well.
Agreed.
Okay, so
if I may, Board Chair, the CRA, as it exists now, has a direct incentive funding policy. It is very short and brief, but it does list eligible items to consider by the board. Prior to 2012, you were we felt as staff, somewhat vulnerable to kind of any and all request, and to provide the agency with a direction, to provide the agency with protection from your meetings with developers, perhaps, that you feel you didn't have a clear guideline to work with. We do have that, and I believe that perhaps that, in addition to the wording of your assignment, would be to look at the existing come up with additional, work on that. So it's the same thing, but I just want to make sure for the record,
Kind of
you
the
both
same
know,
thing as
you do know we do have a
for the
policy
community
now.
benefits agreement, I think, is
Okay,
basically what you're saying.
so I guess it would be to
Tweet it, fine tune it.
It's just like the CBA, kind of
for
working on
the
that same
DIFA as a item. So I'd like to get two motions. One is to add the item to the pending items.
Somebody's standing. You're going to address this?
Pardon me,
Okay.
sir?
Is there someone behind you, Linda?
I'm sorry.
How's everybody doing? Good. All right.
Yeah.
Urban Sinaeus, Palm Beach County, Boynton Beach City. I had a quick question. The CRA is created and designated to develop underdeveloped parts of the city. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is that what the CRA gets money for?
Now, we get money for it to really get rid of blight. That's what we call it.
To get rid of blight, right? But
blight.
you get that money, right? Okay. So one question I had was, what happened to the redevelopment of the Boynton Terrace apartments and the Cherry Hill redevelopment?
All right, that's kind of more of a public comments question.
Okay.
It's not really on the item. I think.
Can I get that addressed in some here?
You can get it addressed now. The Cherry Hill project, that is a county project. Okay, the ones that your question, this is what we went over with New Rock. I'm just saying, if you was here during the discussion, that's what we was talking about. We did not, so it's already been answered. If you sit and watch the presentation, we addressed it with New Rock. So they failed, so now they have to come back. But Cherry Hill is a county project, not a city project. That's county land. It was owned by County Housing Authority.
Okay. And last question is, what is the process of reaching out to the community when it comes to deciding on what projects may or may not even be approved by the folks who live in the city? Like, what are those strategies in reaching those people?
What you're doing right now.
This is it?
This is it.
There's nothing outside of this?
I mean, that's kind of why our meetings are public. It is open for everyone to come here. We have it regularly on the second Tuesday of the month.
Yeah. And I don't want a political answer, but like a real answer outside of this. When you're not at these leather seats, how do y'all reach people outside?
No, that's what I was trying to tell you is that, we have this available option. You're saying in addition to what we have.
Okay.
That's what you're asking?
That's what I'm asking, addition to this.
So we had a couple of those meetings last year, or earlier this year, regarding the consolidated CRA plan.
Okay.
Right now we don't have any new things coming up in the community, but if we do have things coming up, like the Cottage District, we need to figure out what's going on. And so you're asking the CRA to have additional meetings for items.
No, that's not what I'm asking. I'm just trying to find out.
Sir, what it is, let me address this. We have what is known as the Heart of Boynton Association. They are the ones that have the Heart of Boynton meetings. I'm just saying, once they have the meetings, you need to give your name to Mr. Simon. Once they get one of their meetings scheduled, then they will notify you, and then you could come out and address what you want in this section. I am the sitting commissioner for the district for the Heart of Boynton. I'm one of those the voice that speaks for you. But the next time they have a meeting, Mr. Simon would notify you of that meeting, and you can attend and let your voice be heard.
Okay, and lastly, and just because I may be ignorant to this, but as the city commission and the CRA are the same exact folks, so those processes and decisions, is there a lot of red tape between there, or is it literally just you guys making those decisions whenever constituents come and ask for something?
Correct.
Okay.
That's one of the reasons why it doesn't have as much red tape.
Okay, cool. All right, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
And also, my phone number is 561-236-1193. I'll give it to you on the way out. You can call me.
Moving forward, seeing no more public comments, moving forward, the motion to add the item for the DIFA policy update. May I have a motion for that?
So for them to review the existing policy and make recommendations?
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And then addition is limiting the CRA advisory board to the pending items and any additional new projects coming into Boynton Beach.
So specifically development and pending items?
Yeah, so anytime there's a purchase and development agreement or something in that nature.
Is that, Linda, is that kind of language in accord with what you think you guys should be doing?
It's the picture.
Okay, and yeah, and so can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second? Is there a second?
I just want to be clear. So you're saying you don't want it to be so narrow. What is it that you want then?
It just has to come up here.
Repeat the motion that you made.
So the motion that I was requesting is that currently you're discussing all the items regarding the announcements and awards, consent agenda, information only, old business and new business. And so I would be more or less limiting it to certain new business items that the CRA has probably had advanced information for. So maybe you can get it done a month ahead of time before it comes to the CRA board, and so we can see your minutes and any of the pending items. And I'd also like to add an additional, item is that anything that you would like to look at.
We still have to give them
We still have to give them direction
Yeah.
to
They
look
can't
at.
generate
They
their
just
own work.
can't.
They can't generate it? That's
No.
fine then. I know you would want to.
Technically,
but-
any citizen can ask you to ask us to look at something. So
Correct. That
we're
is true.
citizens, we could ask you.
Correct. And so, correct, you could come to the board meetings to ask
Right.
us to do something.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
Second.
All right. You want to call it then? 'Cause-
Hold on one second.
Part of the scheduling issue with the advisory board and with your meetings is that do you want whatever is on your agenda that you may or may not have seen prior to the board seeing, the advisory board, do you want that held off from their review until you've seen it?
So
Or
the motion that was there is that any new business
Okay,
items
very good.
and pending items on the CRA advisory board.
Very good. Thank you.
All right. And I did the motion, so Vice Chair, would
Second.
you? No, I did the motion.
No.
You want to call all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
Okay.
4-1.
I'll take it back. Or you want? All right.
Yeah, get
May I
the
have a
gavel.
motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right. Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.